Alright, hello everybody. Following on from yesterday's video, Age of Empires 3 is still 80% off on Steam, so this is probably a final call to pick up a copy if you have not done so already. This, I believe, Black Friday nonsense is the term. Currently $8, £6, or €7.50 thereabout. For that, an ESO multiplayer account can be yours. So today we do indeed have more ZutaZuta coaching. 3 games in fact, all with timestamps in the description below as always. But normally when we have a Steam sale, the ESO player base is rather inflated with what I assume is new players. So today, as I mentioned, ZutaZuta coaching to get you started with Japan, the entire Japanese collection, so to speak. Japan, definitely quite a rewarding civ to play, I would say, especially at the low levels, because I think Japan is just a civ a lot of new players struggle to beat. So, playing them yourself will give you a good understanding of what it is that they do, how the civ works, what's good, what's not. And I think with that comes the realization of how to play against Japan as well. And not just Japan, but like how to punish people booming generally. I think there are some intricacies there when you first start playing around what other people are doing and knowing what to siege and not wasting your units and things like that. So I personally would say Japan is an important civ to learn if you are new to the game, and that's even more true if you've never played the Asian dynasties. So there is that. Enjoy the video.
This is a game submitted by Finn Golfin, and it's a Japan mirror, and he says, "Hello, this replay is a game of me." His name, it looks like, is my_pace. Playing Japan, he's PR 25 versus a PR 24. It's a Jap mirror, short game, 12 minutes. He wants to know what he can do to improve his gameplay. So that is the context for the game, and that is what we will be watching. So I did download it, did put it into my record games, and I think it's just called Jap mirror. So here it is. Analysis for Finn Golfin. Japan mirror says it's a fairly short game. We will have to lower our graphics here ever so slightly, just because otherwise the game will lag. Well, maybe it won't actually lag. Oh, it looks like he's playing against E-Trips. So my pace, he is down here, or over here on the left. It's Siberia by the looks of things. I'm going to pause it right away because I already see a couple of things that have caught my attention. So immediately we can see a couple of things have happened. Your villager split is okay. The important thing here is that you are immediately gathering 200 wood. I think that's very, very good. Especially in a Japan mirror or any matchup that you intend to get down a Portuguese consulate, you need to gather that 200 wood as quickly as possible. So I do like the fact that you are gathering that 200 wood. One thing that I would also like to see, it's 12 seconds into the game, you haven't moved your explorers yet. There's wood treasure in your base, which is going to mean you're not going to have to chop any additional wood. And you do have this tower that's in range of that. So you could have started killing that already, which is going to be very important. If we take a look at the map without the fog, there are going to be a lot of wood treasures. I'm just going over to the treasures, taking a look at them without the fog on. And oftentimes on this map there are a ton of wood treasures. Now it looks like this map didn't spawn with many. In fact, it looks like it only spawned with 1. But fortunately that 1 extra wood treasure is on your side of the map. Now, you don't know that with the fog on, right? That's just hiding over here somewhere. But the earlier you can get your explorers moving across the map, and the earlier you can get them doing something productive, the more favorable that's going to be for you. So one of your explorers does start heading out. That's definitely good. You have your consulate coming down. A little bit of Vil time bumping around here. Not the end of the world. Looks like you are going to be able to pick up that treasure, but it is in your best interest to try and get everything going as quickly as possible here and exploring the map as quickly as possible. You can see it's 40 seconds and you haven't really scouted much in the map. And because wood treasures especially are so influential for Japan and in a mirror, it's in your best interest to really be getting those treasures. Looks like you did find 1 wood treasure here, which, as we know because we've taken a look at the map, is the only wood treasure available. But there could be, for all you know, there could be like 85 wood, 90 wood strewn all across the map, and the quicker you're able to scout those locations out so you can get your explorers paired up to be able to efficiently gather them, the better off you're going to be. So certainly good. definitely going to be able to pick that up. Your consulate timing is good, certainly nothing to be ashamed of there. One other thing that I do want to mention is your berry placement here isn't very good. You already have a source of food here to the right hand side of your base. This would be much better off behind your town center so that you can split up the locations that your food are being gathered from your town center, just in case there were to be a situation where there was going to be, you know, Ashies raiding your base or something. You'd want your food villas to be able to pop in and out onto different sides. Similarly, you could have used your cherry orchard to scout quite a bit of this back area back here to start with, which you didn't do. So little things like that you can do to optimize, but in the grand scheme of things at PR25 aren't as important. Those are the kinds of things that as you get a little bit higher up, you definitely will want to consider though. Other than that, looking pretty good. Scouting pattern is maybe a little sloppy. I do like that you're splitting your scouts up. Of course, you can poof back to your base with one of them, should you need to. So that's definitely something that's useful. You do specifically want to be starting to have some vision down here, though, on this side of the map, especially in a Japan mirror, so that you can start to contest the hunts. Like, ideally, you will be shrining this and shining this before he does. And similarly, you know, he's going to be trying to do the same thing on your back hunts back here. So huge advantage for you already established, though, with that extra wood treasure. We can see you're getting a second shrine down, and that's going to be good for you. Definitely going to be good for you. We're going to speed it up here a little bit. 12 villager age up, perfectly fine. Whether or not you decide to leave this villager on, I'm going to pause because a bunch of weird stuff's going on here. Whether or not you decide to leave this villager on the Tsushima Shrine, I don't really care. I personally do not leave it on, but that's completely up to you. A couple little weird things that are happening, though. You did get down your age up at a very good time. 2 minutes and 50 seconds, great time to be aging. Nothing wrong with that. Your early game has been very crisp. Everything has looked really good. A couple of things, though, that I do want to point out about your transition here. One, you did not gather enough food to get a villager in queue before you started transitioning villagers over to wood. That's going to mean you're going to sit on this like food count, not training a villager for quite some time. Make sure that you actually gather 100 food before you start the transition, or else your next villager is going to be slow, which just is something you want to try and avoid if at all possible. Another thing to point out is, as I mentioned before, your scouts aren't in position. It looks like they are starting to walk to be in position. We can see this guy is walking down and to the right, and this guy is walking down and to the right as well. So they're both starting to trend to the portions of the map that I was highlighting earlier that I'd like to see you be positioning. But ideally, your next 75 wood will be built on the shrine that is going to be the furthest away from your base possible. So like back in one of these two positions, and then you'll start filling up shrines going back towards your base, so that when you finish, you can be building shrines and replacing shrines in safer spots nearer your base, which isn't quite the case here. Your explorers are a little out of position, but it's not going to be the biggest deal. Villager coming back, don't mind that at all. Like I mentioned, I don't leave a villager on there. Just a little bit of gather time there lost, not biggest deal in the world. Shrine going down in a great spot. Actually, like, this is all looking really good. Just little tiny crispness things that, like, you know, could have maybe had your villager down, or your scout down there a little earlier, but you're fine. Could have had a little bit more of the middle portion of the map explored likely at this point, but honestly, this is all of this is looking good. This is just like the difference between little tiny things. Definitely doesn't even look like PR25 play. Looks like easily PR30 plus play, just with how you're playing your early game. Like, you definitely have an idea of what you're doing, which is good. This was a little bit of a mistake. This guy, it looks like, started, I didn't quite see what happened, but it looked like he started walking back over here. You need to find him a place to build a shrine, and now you can see you have a shrine placed here, but you're walking a long ways. And similarly, this guy here, like, you only built one shrine here. I guess you could have probably built another one there, but now you're walking way back here to build your next shrine. So here's a big issue. This is the first thing that you have issue with, is your scout movements at this point. So you can see you have enough for a shrine to be queued here. You have enough for a shrine to be queued here. You have enough for another shrine, which at this point you should probably just drop down to market and cut your losses. But neither of these shrines are being built, and you're going to start to stockpile wood here fairly soon. So just getting more of the map scouted earlier in the game, and that's going to come back to improving those scout movements that I talked about. But if you can improve those scout movements early in the game so that you know exactly where your explorers are going to go, you won't run into these situations where you just have awkward amounts of wood trickling in. Similarly, because this monkey is following you here, I think what I would have done is I probably would have poofed back home and started filling in shrines in this portion of the map, and then come to this portion of the map latest. But that's not happening. 600 wood, and here we can see, like, look at how much wood you have stockpiled. You're not able to spend all of this wood that you've started to accumulate. It will help that you have your market laid down and you're going to start to get some market tax, but kind of the errors, the issues of like wandering around, that shrine didn't even get built. You're going to have to go back over there and build it. At least you did get your explorer out, but now at what cost now? Like, this shrine just isn't building. You have 2 shrines dropping down here. This guy's not moving again. Soon you're going to have your 600 wood coming, and you're going to want to have a way to spend that, and you're not going to have the greatest way to spend that. So starting to stockpile a lot of wood, I think, which is going to be an issue here. Wood coming, going to be able to gather that up. Your market upgrades have been very, very good. I do like that. I think that's been great. Getting civil servants now. You don't have much scouting information here. There's likely a hunt or two here, like here and here, that you should be looking to shrine that you just don't have any vision of at this point. And that, once again, comes to your scout movements early in the game not being quite on point. Delayed double racks, everything looking good there. Your splits are good. Your market upgrades have been good. By the way, like, don't take, like, some of these things that I'm saying, they're very small things, and I want you to know that none of this so far from what I've seen has been something that, like, holds you into being a PR 25, right? Like, if you played every game this crisp at the start, I would think you were at least a PR like 30-ish player, just because this looks to be, you know, fairly crisp from here so far. Your scout movements have been the only really thing that I think you can drastically improve so far. Your build looks good. I like, actually, it looks like you've stockpiled 183 wood, and it looks like that's potentially going to be used for Imperial bureaucracy at some point, which is certainly something that that can be done. Cutting off at 160 shrine pop, that's about where I usually stop myself as well, which I think is good. A full batch of 10 Ashigaru, definitely good. 4 villagers coming, I believe, for the second time. Everything looking really good. Where do you send these Ashigaru? Okay, do you kill the explorer? One thing that I've noticed here, like, his shrine spread is a little bit better than yours. Yours is, you don't have a lot of vision established here in the middle portion of the map, and that'll be fine, though, as you go forward. Sending the bestieros, that's good. And so this is the point where you have to make a decision as to what you're going to do, whether or not you're going to age or just continue to spam. It looks to me like you're going to age here, which is perfectly fine. If you're going to age here, though, so this is, I'm going to pause the game here, because this is, it looks to me like you want to age here. It looks to me like you're thinking, I'm going to age. And if you're going to age here, this shipment should not be 4 villagers. It should be 600 coin. If you take a look at the resources that you currently have here, you have the 400 coin plus the 600 coin adds up to, as the shipment were coming in, exactly 1,000 coin. You could have a bunch of these villagers and your Teshugu gathering on food as well, and you could easily have essentially the resources to age up at this point. As soon as that coin hit the floor and was gathered, you could be, you know, right at 7.5, 8-ish minutes aging up to the 3rd age, and have really no qualms about that. It looks like you want to age, but you're just doing with the 4 vills, and this is going to end up just being a little bit slow. Now, it will result in you having a slightly better economy, but at the same time, sending those extra 4 villagers is going to mean that despite your economy being slightly better, you're going to fall behind in tech and advantage. And if your opponent's doing the exact same build as you are and sends 600 coin there and gets aged up and forces the issue with veterancy upgrades before you're able to prepare for it and deal with it, you will lose the Jap mirror, and that's an important thing to consider. So if you're going to send 4 villagers here, I don't think that that's the right call to be aging up, which obviously you are aging up here, right? Like that, we can see that that's what's happening. And so if you're going to age up, send the 600 coin, but it's a pretty small thing. A little bit of fighting here. You're able to push them off because you made your bestiaros, which is kind of the standard now with the age 3 based play. You're saving your shrines. You're doing a good job of pushing him off. Your movements of your scouts haven't been very good. We can see once again your scouts just standing still. Ideally, you would have more of this like kind of black area here starting to fill out, even if you're not specifically building shrines with your resources, at least just scouting around so that you like know what's available here, so you know if he has shrines in these locations. Stuff like that would be great to have, but it's a small thing. Building your wonder with, it looks like 7 vills. That's fine. It's immaterial. Doesn't really matter how many you build it with. Anywhere, I think, between 5. I think around 5 is usually what I would do, but you're so far ahead here at this point just because of your gameplay that I don't know that it really matters. Like, your opponent's making Shinobi, which isn't going to be good ever. And you're just going to age up. You're going to get a veterancy upgrade. I mean, hell, you're even going to be able just to kill his... Like, if you were just to fight here, you've got more stuff. 2 flaming arrows. It's fine. You should... I mean, this is, I guess, a little bit of a mistake. Something to call out. The second you age up your first priority with your Ashigaru, you shouldn't have one of these barracks training Ashigaru. You should have one of these barracks definitely getting your upgrade. Your upgrade is going to be far more important than having like an extra 3 Ashigaru, which is probably what you'll be able to get out of that extra barracks. Certainly going to be more important to have that upgrade, especially when your 2 flaming arrows come and you want to defend them. I guess that's the only really thing. You're just going to win this game off of 2 flaming arrows and upgrade Ashigaru. There's nothing else to say about it. Here we can see, like, here you're starting to fight, and if you had your upgrade already finished, which you certainly could have, let's not lie, you would smash this fight even harder. Like, you're already even in military count, it looks like. Yeah, you're actually ahead in military count. Well, I guess maybe a little inflated with the flaming arrows that haven't come yet. But you could have the upgrade here. You're still going to be fine. You're still winning this fight despite the fact that your upgrade is coming. This is, I guess, a fairly big mistake, but it doesn't matter because you're ahead. Fighting like this when your upgrade is almost finished is almost never a good idea unless you're standing on top of your villagers defending resources, which, guess what? You're Japan. You're not. Hooray! Unless you're valiantly trying to defend your resources just so you can stabilize and like wait for your 2 flaming arrows or something like that, you can just duck back here, wait for an extra 20 seconds, wait for your upgrade to finish, and then go and engage. All he's going to maybe do is siege down half a shrine while you're waiting for that upgrade to finish. No big deal, but it's immaterial here. I mean, you've got your advantage. You've even got the couple of enemies shooting in the background, which are going to be huge. Your 2 flaming arrows are here. They're irrelevant in this game. He resigns. I mean, you're obviously really far ahead at this point. And that's the game, I guess. Not a lot to be said. So here's my couple callouts. I think your build is fine in the early game. You definitely look like you know what you're doing. The couple issues that I do have is, one, if you're going to be FFing like this or semi-FFing like this in a Japan mirror, it should be 600 wood, 4 vills, 600 coin. The second 4 villager shipment is very greedy. You probably won't get away with it against a better player. Better players tend to know their timings well, and if he gets aged up 45 seconds quicker than you. That means you're going to have to deal with flaming arrows 45 seconds quicker. You're going to have to deal with veterancy upgrades 45 seconds quicker. You're just going to be a little bit behind in all of those tech progressions, and as that happens, he's going to build up an advantage and just kind of steamroll you. That's one thing I would say. The other thing that I would say really that you could improve is just your scout movements in the mid-ish portion of the game. You got into good positions early, but then you ran into a situation where you had shrines dropped in positions that required your scouts to run a long way, and part of it was because you didn't scout very well early in the game, and that comes down to your scouts just didn't move for the first 20 seconds of the game very much, and they were just kind of always lagging a little bit behind. And a little bit due to your scouting pattern. That's a minor thing, but that will take you to the next level of play, I feel. That'll allow you to spend your resources that much more efficiently, which in mirrors is really important. So those two things, other than that, like the other little minor thing that I noticed was engaging with your military units before your upgrade finished, but at that point you were so far ahead that it didn't look like it really mattered. But I would say try and in general avoid doing that as much as possible. So pretty good game, pretty quick game, but oftentimes quick games, indecisive games can be just as meaningful, and you can learn just as much from them as longer games as well. So it's my pace we're looking at. It's playing against Industrious, and it looks like the map is Siberia, good old Siberia. The Japanese player. Over here, my pace is the guy that we're going to be watching. It's a 200 wood start, so he is going to need to be able to chop a bunch more wood should he want to do some sort of consulate. Has his consulate coming down early. That's good. Villagers going over here. Don't gather your coin crate. Okay, it looks like you know that. It's just a little bit of a mistake. Have a nice wood treasure and base. That's always useful. Using your orchard rickshaw scout, that's something that even I don't do very well. Coming across another pretty nice wood treasure. All these are good things. Overgathered a little bit of wood, not the biggest deal. Not overly bummed out about this. I would if you're going to scout like you did here, I would make sure you scout like back here, because like there's a hunt back there that it would be nice to know about, etc. A little bit of contention going on over here. I didn't actually see who ended up stunning these. It looks like he did. And if that's true, that's good for you. Just start attacking him. Make sure you're standing right on top of this in case there's a divine strike. Like if there's a divine strike there, you want to make sure you get it. He got it. It's fine. Looks like you need to build your shrine anyways. Got a villager still rallied here on wood. Clean up some of these little things. I wouldn't get too carried away with where this guy ends up going. I would just make sure he clears out like these little spots back here, and then get him built in the position. Okay, no issues with your age up. Didn't have any idle time, or with your construction was running. Don't spend too much time just standing here shooting him. It's more important for you to identify where the hunts are that you're going to need to shrine, and identify other treasures. This map has got tons of good treasures. Lots of things that you could be picking up, like stuff like this will help you age up. There's a wood treasure, a couple coin treasures. Most of the wood treasures have been taken. This is a mistake. Like you're just not scouting here now. You've got both of your monks just like blindly chasing after him. You want to have as much of the map scouted out at this point as possible. And it's a mistake that you've spent so much time just chasing around after that failed treasure. Alright, 680. Dropping down to Teshuga. This is a very good spot for the Teshuga. I really like this. You can put barracks here, market here. It's got a really nice full wall. You're going to get a full set of hunts on that shrine as well. It's very good. Monk's a little out of position. I preach this often with Japan. Make sure you should have like one here and one that's on a hunt that's bound to be here. And then one that's on whichever hunt is furthest over here. You probably can't reach that one. No, you probably can. Might be a little too close. Your monks are a little out of position, but Siberia is a somewhat forgiving map because of just the sheer number of hunts available on it, so it's not the biggest deal. So far your mirror build looks pretty standard, pretty solid. Didn't have, this is what I'm saying, right? You don't have quite as deep of penetration as I would like to see with your shrines. I'd love to, and some of it comes down to your scouting in the early game hasn't been that good. You should have shrines hopefully back in these positions and then be working your way back here. You're doing better than he is. His penetration is almost none. Like, I'm just going to briefly show. Like, look at, he hasn't barely even scouted over here. He doesn't have any shrine penetration, so that's a huge advantage for you. Just the fact that you're over on his side of the ice is really good. Alright, that's a pretty slow age up, but it was a coin crate start, and you didn't get a ton of help with treasures, so I don't think it's the end of the world. 600 wood coming, that's good. Should probably build your market here. I've said this before. Okay, so let's take a look at what you've got, right? You've got one monk building a shrine. Where's your other monk? Doesn't have a shrine dropped, but he's probably walking like to over here, right? Trying to get in a position where he can build a shrine. Where's he waypointed? Can I find his waypoint? Is he moving? He is moving. Okay, he's waypointed over here somewhere. I can't find it, apparently. But he's waypointed over there somewhere. But this is the point where, right, you've got one guy building, one guy walking. This is the point you drop your market. You 100% drop your market here. You get it started. You're going to have an influx of wood here coming anyways. This is a point where you can drop it down, start getting your upgrades, and still continually be building shrines with both of your monks. So the fact that, okay, well, it came down like literally 2 seconds after, but that could have come a little bit earlier. You can identify that this is going to happen. You can see this coming, and then you can preemptively build the market before you get to 150 wood. It could be coming right at that 85. So it was a little late, but it's just a recognition thing. It's not a huge deal. Alright, good. Getting the berry upgrade first. I would get civil servants in queue next, and not blanket filters. I almost always do cherry gather 1, civil servants, cherry gather 2, blanket filters, and then imperial bureaucracy. Like, that's the order that I would recommend getting the upgrades in. And then I wouldn't recommend, at least not early on, getting the second coin gathering upgrade. That's an awkward position for a Rax. I would have preferred to see Rax or Rax, like off to the right side. This is a pretty awkward spot. Just breaks up your passing between the town center. Doesn't really matter that much in a Jatmir, but it is an awkwardly placed Rax. Alright, your wood is here. Gather it up. Getting your upgrades. That's good. I would transition off of wood at this point. You've got plenty of shrine population. You're probably going to end up with too much wood, and you're not going to get out a ton of ashes. Okay, so it looks like, so alright, so I'm going to pause here. This is kind of like the first important point. So this is the point where in my build I normally put 2 villagers on coin and put everything else on food, and then put my shrines on coin. And specifically the reason why I do that is because if you're going to get the second coin gathering upgrade, it's 100 food and 100 wood, and to really have this many villagers gathering on coin, I think it's justifiably important to have the second coin gathering upgrade. If you're only going to have 2 villagers on coin, you don't need to get the second coin gathering upgrade. And I think your early mass is slightly stronger, and your general early eco is slightly stronger by doing that kind of look, having fewer villagers on coin, more on food, and then skipping that coin gathering upgrade. Now, that does of course mean that you will be tearing through your food a little bit heavier, and as a result, you're going to need to send your cherry archers a little bit earlier. But what I do to mitigate that is once you've stabilized a bit and you're getting out to a point where you can get 5-5-5 consistently, then you can start transitioning villagers over to coin, get the second coin gathering upgrade, and then start putting your shrines on food if you need to. That's kind of my stylistic preference of how I manage Jap's kind of early mid-game eco, and especially if you have a second safe coin mine, which you actually have a pretty safe second coin mine. And on e-patch games in general, you'll usually have a second safe coin mine. Will result in a slightly better mid-ish game as well. You have 400 export. If you're going to build the bows, build them now. I don't think it's inherently wrong to be skipping the bows if you have other plans for that export, but if you are going to build the bows and use them to pressure, it's a mistake to not be building them at 400. So as you're watching this, just know that if you are planning on building the bows, just make them at 400. You only missed it by 20 exports. Not that big of a deal. So far, your gameplay here has been really solid. Like this is a really good look, really solid gameplay so far. Nothing wrong with this. Just little things that you can clean up. I feel like you're ahead at this point. Yeah, I mean you're like 8 or 9 shrines up. Alright, what's your next card going to be? That's what you should be thinking right now. What's my next card going to be? Is it going to be Ashy Attack or 600 coin? If it's 600 coin, you're planning on aging up and you want to be somewhat careful with your units. And if it's going to be Ashy Attack, you need to be starting to get in a position where as soon as that hits the floor, you can engage him. I'm not saying you're not doing those things. I'm just for the viewers that are perhaps watching. That's what you need to be doing. Imperial Bureaucracy coming down. 840, that's fine. 600 coin. Okay, so you're aging. So you want to be careful with your army here. You don't want to necessarily lose them. So you do have to consider the fact that he could be shipping Ashy Attack right now, or with his next card. It looks like you're slightly ahead in XP, so it's not happening right now. But he could potentially be shipping it, right? So you need to be careful. You need to be monitoring this. Obviously, you're ahead in this fight, so it's fine. You're ahead in mass. Let's see what he's sending. Okay, he has the card available, but it's not sending it. Why are you just turning and fighting? Stop. Look at his army. 13 and 3. Look at my army. 14 and 7. Like there's no reason for you to be turning and running here. It's just a mistake. You could continue to stay there and fight. Maybe you're a little put off because you're shipping 600 coin and you're wanting to be careful, but that's just, you need to get a better read on that fight. Like the second you started running away, I could tell it was a mistake. Just by eyeballing that, I could tell that your army was much better. You could have stayed there and fought that and started applying more pressure on his shrines as a result. But either way, your 600 coin is here. You're going to be able to age up. He still hasn't sent his card. It looks like he's aging up and just... Oh, no, he has. He's sent 600 coin, it looks like. No, he sent 600 wood, 4 vil, 600 coin. You're like 4 vils up on him as a result. Alright, you're both aging. You're ahead in terms of eco. You still have 2 deep... Like, you should be contesting here. Especially with your Ashies. Like, there's no harm in keeping your Ashies interested and like having them poke up here, even if you're aging, right? Because worst case scenario, he's not aging, he sent Ashy Attack, and then you just run away, right? But you could be like ducking in and out of the fog here, picking off Ashies and stuff, and helping preserve that shrine for a little bit longer. Instead, you're just standing here, back defensively. You should be trying to get in a position to be impactful with your units. If you have units, see how he's still like over here doing something, even if it's just like 2 or 3 Ashies over here sieging shrines, right? Any of that's going to be better than just standing on top of your base. You're just not using your army right now, which is a mistake. Notice how you're both doing the same thing, but during this time, you've stood here with your army and done nothing, and he's moved around the map and killed 2 of your shrines. And as a result, he's starting to close that gap. Remember how just a couple minutes ago it was 200 to 110? Now it's 140, soon to be 150 to 180. So that gap is starting to close a little bit. piling a lot of resources. This is the point, by the way, I'm just going to mention it, that I get at least the first wood gathering upgrade. If at any point you've got this much food, there's never any harm in just sinking 50 food into getting that. You don't know if you're going to lose your market, or like maybe your cherries run out and everything starts chopping wood. It's just kind of like a safety blanket to have that wood upgrade, so that you get that little extra bit of efficiency anytime you're going to start chopping. I haven't seen you get it yet, so I might have missed it, but I don't think I did. Just an aside. Make sure that you always have the resources to immediately queue up your veterancy upgrade. Okay, he's aged as well. If he's aged as well, I don't know that there's... I mean, obviously at this point you probably know that you've made the mistake, right? I mean, this is the third or fourth shrine that he's killed out on the map, and you still haven't done anything about it. And even though you were very far ahead as a result, you could have been even further ahead. Okay, I got the upgrade coming. You're over to Japanese isolation. That's good. You should be. That's like the 6th shrine that you've lost. You can split off your ashes here. Don't fight until your upgrade comes. Dangerous fighting. It's dangerous. Yeah, dangerous. Danger, danger, danger. Even though you've got them outnumbered here, still gonna be okay. There comes your upgrade. Looks like you're still gonna be fine. Like, I don't actually know how you lose here. Like, you should win from here. Something's gonna have to go pretty wrong if you're gonna lose. Bushido Tactics online. That's good. This is okay. I'm going to pause here because this is a fairly critical point. So if you look at your food, like it's starting to run out here, right? So this is when I would have like cut like 15 of these vills over to this coin mine preemptively to try and preserve this cherry orchard a little bit longer and flip my shrines over to food. You can see now how you're gathering on coin with your shrines, and you've got a bunch of villagers on food here, and this is soon going to run out. And then you're going to have like an awkward situation where you'll probably just have villagers standing around or chopping wood, and then your economy will get a little misbalanced. I would have made that switch a little bit more preemptively, because I feel like this is going to run out. Your cherries aren't going to quite be here, and then you're going to just be standing around awkwardly for a little bit, or chopping wood or something. Or maybe even worst case scenario, you don't send cherry orchards right now. Okay, at least you send cherry orchards. That's good. Starting to contest the map. Alright, you've got age 4 in tow. He's got age 4 in tow as well. I don't know that it's wrong. Yeah, see, this is what I was talking about. This is exactly where, like, if you would have noticed that before, you could have cut a bunch of villagers over to coin, flipped your shrines over to food, and then not had this situation where you had 27 vills go idle and then they all have to chop wood for 45 seconds while you wait for your cherry orchards to finish. Oh, shit. I knew that was going to happen. This is a robot patch game, wasn't it? And that's the point where that guy aged up in the patch is like, oh, wait, this isn't right. Alright, I'll get back into the game. There's the point where you aged up and the Shogunate Wonder has different XP levels and the game freaks out because it's got the wrong number. Alright, let's get back into the game. We're at the point where Orange had just aged up. There, we'll race car through some of this early stuff. We'll see if at race car speed we see anything else that looks out of place. A little bit of idle time there, like we mentioned. Coin crate start. You gathered some of your coin, that also slowed you down. We're scoring our way through. Chop, Phil's chop, chop, Phil's chop. 600 wood, 4 bill, 4 bill, I believe is what you did. He cut one of his 4 bills. He did 600 wood, 4 bill, 600 coin. I still like to send the double 4 bills. Personally. And I think as long as you're careful with your food, it's still better. Okay, it's still, I want to reiterate again, like, this is the point where he killed like 6 or 8 of your shrines, or like 6 of your shrines in transition, and you did nothing. And that gap got a lot closer. Like, look at his 150 to 170 now. I'm just going to mention that as we continue to race our way through. Like, you could push there. That's a situation. Let's talk about this again, because this is a situation where you just won that fight hard. Look at, he's aging up. Yeah, I realize you're aging up as well, but after you've won that fight, like, there's a very good chance that you just push in here and just probably kill him, or maybe kill one of his orchard rickshaws or something. Because if you take a look at raw populations, 96 versus 64. You're like 30 up. There's a very strong possibility that if you don't duck back for the shrine and just go into his base while he's just dropped this wonder, that you cause serious distress for him. Like, might just win the game out right there. Just a quick aside. After you won a fight, it's always a good time to push in. Alright, so this is the point we were at, right? He had just aged up. You're aging up as well. Kind of had an oh shit moment where your cherry orchards hadn't come. Look at how your eco got so out of whack here. Good thing is you've got resources in order to build like flintlock and stuff like that, if you haven't. You could get flintlock here and still have the resources to get Honored Ashigaru when you get aged up. Get a Vil back in queue. You're still slightly ahead in terms of Vils. Alright. Shogunate is up to shipments in tow. 4 flaming arrows, 4 flaming arrows. That's going to be 10 flaming arrows. That's a lot. Your honored upgrade, like, you should cancel that. The most important thing is getting your honored upgrade right now. And any time that you just sit with that in queue is potential time that he could come and kill you. Especially when you have Bushido as well. I know you've already researched Bushido here, right? So you can get those 8 ashes out of a single Rax anyways. Okay. Honestly, I think your biggest mistake so far this game is just your passivity. Like, you just haven't been aggressive when you've had windows to be aggressive. And identifying those windows can be difficult, but I would start working my way forward now. You've got 6 flaming arrows and you've got 4 more with a mobile shipment point online. You can start getting into a position where you could get into place to kill him here. Alright. Flintlock. Important upgrade. So I would ideally like the second that those are there, that they are being made use of, right? Ideally, you are just about to start a fight, and then 4 more flaming arrows pop out of your daimyo, and then you're in a fight, right? That would be ideal situation. Your army is definitely not in a position to do that. Has he shipped Yumis? It looks like he probably has. Yeah, he shipped 16 Yumis twice. He doesn't have the upgrades for them. He's just getting the discipline upgrade now. Assumedly, he's going to try and get the honored upgrade. As long as you have good control with your flaming arrows, it shouldn't matter. Let's... Oh. Okay. Shogun's on the place sniping. My family's gonna wreak havoc. I mean, you still have 10 flame arrows here, right? You should just dumpster this fight with decent flame arrow. Make sure the flaming arrows are like actually shooting the leaders. Still have 9 full HP flaming arrows. Your spread hasn't been overly great. Looks like it's not going to matter. It actually is kind of mattering, but it's not going to matter too much. You should probably build a castle at this point as well, just so that you can get the upgrade for flaming arrows. It's really cheap, actually. More of the expense is building the structure to be able to actually do the research. This is a point where you want like 5 or 6 Ashy. Like you could just have like 3 Ashy over here sieging, or hell, you could just make clubs and start sieging with clubs. Either way, like you're winning this game. You can't lose from it. Spend your resources. Look at your resource count. If you have resources to spend them. Built a stable. I don't think you should build a stable. You should have built a castle if anything, so you can get upgrade for your flaming arrows. Shogun Tokugawa! No, not Shogun Tokugawa! More flaming arrows coming into the mix. Alright, so I'm going to say one thing to preface this. So, there's a reason why I ask for people to, in general, I think it's more helpful when you send me a loss, right? And that's very well demonstrated here. Honestly, there wasn't really any situation where you were really that far behind here, right? I think you're a better player than him. Your early game build was pretty good. Truthfully, like, it was, even though it was a pretty long game, you were always up 30 or 40 in score. You kind of just dumpstered the fights and rolled into his base and killed him, right? It's hard to say anything too constructive when you win by a very wide margin. And although, you know, the game is 19 minutes, you won by a wide margin. It wasn't really even close. I mean, if we take a look at the post game, you're going to be ahead in resources. Yeah, you're ahead in resources. Like, you outgathered them by 1,000 or plus resources. So, I mean, you're ahead in that regard. Take a look at the military unit population, right? You're always ahead. You won every single fight convincingly. The early skirmishes, you were ahead. It's just really hard to make comments when you're always far ahead, right? It's always easier to play from a position where you're ahead. That said, there are still some things you can fix up. I think there was an opportunity, one, for you to be more active with your army. I mentioned it a couple times, and I think that was your biggest flaw in this game. It didn't actually end up costing you the game, but for the most part, after the early little back and forth had happened and you started aging and getting your tech going, you just sat here with your army and didn't actually use your military. And that's a big mistake in Japan Mirrors, because as I said numerous times, right, he was going out around the map sieging your shrines down. Perhaps if we take a look at the buildings tab, we'll get an accurate view of that. Yeah, this is actually quite telling, right? So you got really far ahead in terms of shrines, and then look what happened here, right? At 8 minutes, this is where you guys about start aging, or at least you've made up your mind that you're going to be aging. And look at what he's doing to your shrines, right? You're losing shrines, you rebuild one. He kills a third, a fourth, 2, 3, 4. He's killed 5, 6, 7-ish shrines, right? And what are you doing as a response to that? Nothing, right? You don't do anything. Your economy's better at this point, right? You're slightly ahead in eco. You're slightly ahead in the age 3 play, but even that being said, you're not actually doing anything. So the one thing I think from this game that you can really gain, or that I can really definitively say that you can work on, is is that aspect of your game. The 7 to 10 minute marks being active with your army. Because you just kind of sat in your base and didn't really do anything with your army and let a bunch of your shrines go down. If you take a look at the military unit population, while all that was happening, you were ahead, right? There was no reason for you to lose those shrines. You could have stayed ahead and kept your economy growing even more. So that what I think is the single biggest piece of criticism that I can give is work on being more active with your army in that kind of transition period. It's perfectly safe to take your Ashigaras and run up and like snipe one of his units and then fall back. Make sure you don't group the slow units with the fast units so that when you are hitting and running like that you don't get caught up and slowed down. But that was I think the biggest piece that I can do, biggest piece of criticism I can give. The other thing that I mentioned briefly when I reloaded into the game that I noticed was there was a chance where you both hit age 3, you were both kind of saving to age, you had just killed a whole bunch of his units, and then you backed off and like sieged a shrine over here, and then went back to standing on top of your base, where you probably could have just rolled into him and killed him. After you win a fight, I would always advise at least pursuing a little bit. If nothing else, you could have like killed more impactful shrines like these ones down here, and then came back and killed the ones that were back here. But there was a chance probably that you could have just rolled into his base and killed him, because once again, if you look at the military unit population just before you guys are aging, right, this is that little engagement that we're talking about. He lost a bunch of units. You were significantly ahead. And if you would have pushed in here when he was at 29 pop and you were at 54 military pop, you would have probably just smashed down the doors and killed him, to be perfectly honest. But you took the safe approach and you still won as a result, so can't be too disappointed with that. Hopefully some of those things help, and hopefully if you have any more questions, like I said, a little bit easier to analyze losses than it is wins, because quite honestly your early game looked really solid. You've got the build down, your macro early on in the game, which is what some people have difficulty with, was pretty on point and have a ton of unspent resources. At the end you started stockpiling a little bit of resources, but that's something that I think you can be aware of and fix on your own. So feel free to submit another replay. Hopefully it helps. And that's going to be it. So let's take a look here. We're going to be watching Stefano. I would assume this is Stefano. Yep, Stefano Skirmish, the red player. Playing some Japan. The map is High Plains, a Great Plains variant, and it is, as a Japanese player, one of the most rewarding things to see. A 300 wood start, which is absolutely great. So just to start out with, for a villager split, we want to be looking at 3 villagers on food, 3 villagers on wood, so that you can get that consulate started as quickly as possible. Try and split your villagers a little bit better on your wood crates so that you can get that consulate started as quickly as possible, but not the end of the world here so far. Alright, consulate. Oh, alright, so, okay. Pause, time out. Time out. We're going to take a very, so we're gonna talk about very high level things with Japan first. With 300 wood start, I would almost always advocate for doing a consulate beginning, due to the fact that economically it's just going to set you off on the right foot. It's actually a pretty big map and a really good map for shrine booming, and against a French player who's likely going to be doing some sort of semi-FF build, or maybe he'll be playing aggressively. Either way, you want a pretty good shrine economy. You want to split him up on the map. So I'm not a big fan of this market start. I'll work with it to see what else we got, but I would advocate for doing consulate start in this matchup every single game if possible. That being said, we'll see what else happens. Market start, not all bad. Villager production, pretty good. Nice treasure here. I would have tried to get that right away. Alright, so you've got this upgrade coming. You can get civil servants here as well, which is actually okay. I would definitely get civil servants at this point. If you're going to do this market start, might as well commit to it. might as well commit to it. Japan doesn't have a lot to look at early game. I mean, it's gathering cherries, scouting, right? There's not a lot to comment on because you're just fire and forget putting your villagers on cherries. This is a little bit awkward. Let's look at the placement here. This is a little bit awkward. You kind of block out this coin mine. I think you would be best off having your cherries be like here and here. You can definitely fit them in like this location so they're both in the backside. So you are going to be sending Heavenly Colony, but you're not Portuguese consulate booming, so that's a little awkward. I mean, 2 vills is equally awkward, probably more awkward. I'd also take out Own and War and put in 600 coin in your deck. The number of times you're going to need Own and War is very, very low. In fact, I can't remember the last 1v1 I played where I said, damn, I wish I had higher siege in my infantry. The only other thing that I think is worth mentioning in this build is you could have picked up Civil Servants with this build. I think would have made it slightly better. Civil Servants affects all resources, would allow you to chop a little bit more wood a little bit more quickly, which would be kind of nice in the transition as well. Alright, lost unknown treasure. That happens. Happens to the best of us. Alright, Sugar Shrine going down. I'm not a big fan of this placement of the Sugar Shrine. Should be probably over here on the right side. Protects your cherries a little bit. And has a higher chance of picking up a large number of bison. Definitely do pick up the first wood gathering upgrade with this variation of this build that you've done. There's no reason not to. That's the only merit I can see in this build currently, and so I would definitely do that. Have the wood upgrade, and I would have had Civil Servants as well. You would actually be gathering a pretty good chunk of wood here in the transition if you did have Civil Servants and Water Wheel both researched already, but you don't have them, so it's a little bit awkward. Obviously, you're just using up 18 more wood per shrine than you would in the traditional build, but you do have a slightly stronger villager economy going here with the market, so I do think it's wrong, but the overall way that you've played it, I don't think has been too bad just yet. This actually looks like it's a pretty long game. Alright, you have wood for Iraqs maybe, is what you're going to put down with it. 300 export. Like this is, there's not a lot of rhyme or reason to this build that I can see so far. Is this a consulate? Okay, it is a consulate. I'm very curious what this is going to be, because this is like non-standard Japanese play whatsoever. And I'm actually not hating it, which is something that's surprising me. Because the way you've actually played it so far is not the way that I would play in general, but I don't think it's actually horrible. Just like from seeing the setup that you have, the barracks, everything, like the building placement, everything like that's actually been okay. You're at a serviceable shrine population. I'm curious to see what you're going to get here with this 300 export. Of course, building the consulate late here with the 300 export does give you the niceties of saving that extra 75 export from diplomatic intrigue as well, so maybe you like ally with Dutch here and get out the bank, which is like kind of a cute play. 5 Ashy. Okay, so I'm curious to see how this develops, because 5 Ashy doesn't really fit into this from what I can understand. You're going for isolation. Okay, I'm gonna go off on a tangent here. This is completely a tangent that's maybe irrelevant, but I want to go on it because I think it's kind of an interesting build. If you would have gone 300 export, 4 Vil, cut shrine population around 90, prioritized getting market upgrades, and done 300 export, Dutch consulate, gotten the bank, maybe gotten the batch of muskets that comes with it after the bank. You do have the little bit of coin trickle that comes from allying with Dutch as well, and then gone 4 Vil, you'd actually have a pretty good economy without shrines, without being so shrine dependent. And I actually kind of like the build. Like, it actually gives me kind of a good idea for a build of my own. I don't think that this is inherently bad. It's not as reliant on shrines or the shrine placement. and I think it could be good. Now here it looks like you're just going to be training Ashies and doing what? You're still gathering a lot of wood, which I think is not necessary with whatever you're going to be trying to do here. Make sure you train villagers. You're not going to have, like, what are you going to put in, you have 700 export. You have to spend it in some way, like right now. Bushido is wrong. Maybe you're going to make Shinobi. I guess that makes some sense. You're basically going to have 10 Shinobi here with this build. Is this, I'm curious if this is the one that you win or this is the one you lose. I've added, first you get beat probably because you let him build TPs and didn't fully Shrine Boom. Rematch where I beat him with a crazy. I wonder if this is the crazy 300 export strat that we're seeing. I'm not convinced it's not. And just by seeing the length of this game, like, it makes me curious. Alright. 2 trading posts. At the same time, he's making trading posts here as well. I don't think this is as good aggressively as it would be economically. I actually legitimately think this could be an okay build had these not been Shinobi. Shinobi just feels so awkward here to me. That being said, I haven't seen... Okay, this is problematic, like these villagers being out here. I haven't seen anything that's overly problematic. I mean, you're not training villagers right now. You've been penned up a little bit. I'm going to turn back the sounds a little bit. This is awkward, like with your villagers going over here. It's a little bit late on your Minutemen call. Lost a couple villagers. Notice how awkward this, like all of this has been awkward in your base. Let's pause and talk about that a little bit. This is probably like the first thing that, aside from me just fundamentally not agreeing with your build, that I think you've done poorly. One, you had 4 villagers over here that got isolated out. 2 of them, I believe, died as a result of being over there. And a lot of that comes down to this placement here. The overall placement of your buildings in your base isn't very good. And it's one of the most crucial aspects of playing a good Japanese is getting good building placement. The Shrine Wonder should be over here. The 2 cherry orchards should be here and here. And then you would have free reign over your coin mines. Here, though, you're blocking off the actual surface area for your coin mine. If you like see what we've got going on here, there's not a lot of room for villagers to pack in here, and so as a result, a couple of them got swung over here when this little area filled up, and then that makes raiding very easy for him. So clean up your building placement. The consulate and the barracks are okay. Arguably, I wouldn't put your barracks or whatever your first military building is quite that far out, especially outside of TC range, but it hasn't come back to bite you. But this placement has. The Teshugo and the Cherry Orchard placement has come back to bite you. Got a fairly decent army. Shinobi, of course, do a surprising amount of siege attack. Helps control the TPs a little bit. Shrine population is not bad. One thing that I've noticed is you haven't gotten a ton of market upgrades, which is something that I think this build could accomplish. So make sure that if you are going to make a market and have it be an integral part of your early game, that you actually do get all of the market upgrades. You're pretty low on Vil count after that as well. A little bit of harassment here. Your scouting hasn't been great as well. You don't really know what's going on behind his base. That said, you've got him scouted out as basically going Moscas, which is great for you. You can make pure Ashi from here. Make sure you're training units. You have plenty of resources to be training units here. Train units, train bills, you've got stuff. You're probably concentrating on this fight a little bit too much at this point. That just comes down to speed and multitasking. I don't love the fact that we're sending Ashi attack here. I would love to be seeing us send some 4 villager cards, but at the same time, it's not maybe too bad. Getting a lot of decent damage in here. Killed 2 CDBs, that's pretty good. It's sloppy by him, that was really good in there. Killed all those muskets. This feels really good for you. Control your units back to this side of the stable while you're sieging this, just to take as much little damage as possible from the town center fire. This feels like a win from Japan from here on out. There come your market upgrades. They're definitely late. You've had the resources to get those basically at any time. This is a win from here. Like, Japan doesn't lose this position. I'm going to pause it to show you how bad this looks from his position. Like, look at where he's at. He's at 17 vills. He's got most of them in his town center. His herding hasn't been great. He does have two. He has 2 TPs. That's not too big of a deal. He's short several hundred resources from aging. He's got 8 expos on the way, and he's just lost his stable. This is a win from Japan in probably 3 to 4 minutes time if you execute. So one, it makes me nervous that this game is still got like 60 or 70% of it to go, because from here on out Japan should win convincingly, is my opinion. Make sure, don't circle siege buildings. It's a good way to get yourself trapped. Like, see how when you're circle sieging here, like, this is an issue. We just saw, like, he's got 8 crossbows. He's popping out his villagers, right? He's creeping up his muskets. If we go back to you, you don't know quite as much of that because of your vision, but you look at how isolated some of your army is, right? These guys aren't going to be able to help in the fight whatsoever. You're basically going to be fighting with this army versus his vills, 8 crossbows, and these 5 muskets, which does lose, right? But if you had grouped everything up so that everything was standing right here, everything was standing right here, it would be a much more difficult angle for him to attack you from. You're overcommitting to this barracks. There you're finally going to start fighting. Make sure you focus down his military units. You have to kill these crossbows especially. It's very important that the shinobi are focusing on the crossbows, or the muskets, either right now. But just hitting the villagers is very poor for you. Let's look at the hit points of his units here. Like, look at how many, all of these CDB have got like 20 or 30 HP off them. And in fact, he's already got the Great Coat upgrade for them as well. So look at how much damage has been wasted on all of these villagers. That's quite significant when you've got pure ranged units. Wouldn't be as bad just to slam everything in there if you had a couple cav here, but combined with the fact that you got isolated off onto the side, and then he brought in his CDB in a pretty impactful way. Kind of crappy for you, but you did kill some CDB. I can see how you're not going to win immediately off the back of this, but it's fine. Should be training units. During all of this, if you kept up your unit production, you'd have tons more reinforcements coming. We're not training villagers as often as we'd like. In fact, let's look at the post-game here very quickly. We can't. We'll look at the post-game afterwards. And I'm pretty sure we're going to see that the villager production has not been great. This is also a position where I don't think we need to be sending cards like Daimyo Mototada. You can just be sending 4 vills here, improve your infrastructure, get a second racks down, even send 600 wood, build some more shrines, and get a second racks down. Just continue your economic progression from here. Start using your daimyo to train units here. I mean, you literally have enough enough resources to just immediately Q5 Yumi from your daimyo. And it's a mistake that you're just moving them around and not doing that. Especially now with you have Bushido researching, you could get 10 Yumi out of this guy with your next shipment. Starting to look like you're going to try and contest the TPs, which is good. He's probably aging behind this fairly soon. Yeah, he's going to be ready to age. He's got Stagecoach. He's down to 14 CDB, which is actually pretty good for you. Pretty low eco game in general. Good. I probably would have killed the Explorer first. As long as he doesn't get away, it doesn't matter. Okay. You've got a ton of units here. You have to know he's aging at this point. It's very likely he's going to be aging at this point. Okay, this is a mistake. This is probably, you'd probably just like this card, but it's provides zero use here. 600 wood or 4 villa is absolutely a better thing to do. Or 600 coin. In fact, if you had 600 coin now, you could just follow him up and you'd be fine. This is just a flaw in your decision making. Like, that card doesn't belong even in your deck. It's not going to be useful. Alright, he's aged up, but you know his economy sucks. Not the end of the world. Your macro here is getting a little bit out of control. There comes a bunch of Yumi finally. You still have there. Okay, there we're finally starting to spend our resources. Not training villagers, yeah. You realize that you could unqueue a Nagi here or a Yumi and gotten that villager and queue a little bit earlier. I still think you're okay. Oh, don't lose the daimyo. Probably want to wait for this. Well, you're still okay. I mean, honestly. Where's our cav? Get all this stuff rallied in, because like these units are especially the ones you need to be able to deal with his skirmishers. More cav, more villagers. His economy's still way behind. I'm still not a fan of the fact that you don't have 600 coin here, just because like this is if you had 600 coin at any time you could send it in age, but it's very awkward that you don't have it. It's a must-have card. I'm gonna start speeding up because like this game is won for you. I still don't know how this game continues to go any longer. You can just attack move underneath his town center right now and you win. This should be the point where you look at the scores and you know that you're massively ahead from the military. The only thing that can lose you the game is if he gets out a ton of shipments because of his trading post economy that he's starting to build up. And I mean, you just won a fight convincingly. Just march into his base and kill him. That's just don't split up your stuff. Just get everything together here at the same time. Like you kind of split up. Just ram everything right down the throat. We're all split up here. You see how all of your stuff is split up? Like only like 2 of your units are actually attacking his units. You've got a bunch of stuff just randomly sieging here. You just need to get everything together. You've got tons of resources to spend. Haven't been spending resources very much. Look at how here again, like you've just got half of your army, 10 units just sieging away, not actually doing anything. If these actually were all just in this fight, focusing down the military units, like you'd be crushing him. You've got another 10 Yumi coming. I'm still very uncertain about how this game goes this long, even though there's been some cause for concern here. You have the resources to age. You should be aging right now. Probably just aren't practiced enough to be handling all of these different actions at this point. But the most important thing is to spend your resources. There comes the age. That's always going to be priority number 1, is to spend your resources. I like that you've made a decent switch to Yumi here. It's pretty good. He's got to have like 10 CDB, right? Yeah, 9 CDB. It's not very many. Alright. Lost the daimyo, got sniped. It's fine. Killed most of his stuff as a result. Doesn't matter. Train units. You're still so far ahead here. Let's take a look at your age 3 cards. They're fine. Should probably be training a couple more Nagis just to be able to deal with these skirms. Oh no! Alright, just a little indecisive underneath his town center. You must have a bunch of units stockpiled somewhere. Is that true? No, it's not true. Still fine, though. Like, 3 Corsairs with a 9 CDB economy is not ever any cause for worry. He literally doesn't have anywhere to hunt. He's fully reliant on TPs for food at this point. His next hunt is completely shrined up. Spend, spend, spend. Got lots of resources. Get those upgrades. The most important thing about getting to the next stage is to get those upgrades. Gotta get those upgrades. Gotta get the 10% upgrade, or the veterancy upgrades. So important. Close combat, good card. Oh no. Here come the upgrades. Ashy are so much safer than Yuumi just for this reason. You don't ever have to worry about getting surprised by a bunch of cav. You can also use Ashy just to hunt down skirms eventually. I thought you had a second Rex. No, you probably need a second Rex. You just need to be spending your resources. Look at how many resources you have. You have so many resources here that you need to spend. Gotta find a way to spend your resources. Okay, they're queued up a bunch of builds. You know, as horrible as this is going to say, I don't actually mind this for newer-ish players. At least you're going to have constant build production for this portion of the game, right? Which is something you haven't had very frequently this game. As long as you have the resources to do it and still be getting out big bashes of units, like, I'd rather see you train villagers, and if this is the way that you can accomplish that, that's fine. As you improve. Obviously, as your spending gets better and you're able to improve your macro, you wouldn't want this many villagers in queue. Okay, Flintlock. Starting to control the TPs again. Royal Mint is fine. You're still so far ahead, it doesn't matter what you send. Japan doesn't lose to 9 CDB Eco-Pop. It's up to 15 again, but fact remains the same. Oh, you don't want to fight against those cannons. Just being a little sloppy. It looks like you just don't know how to end the game, really. Got a ton of resources to spend. Oh no, are you going to lose this game? Is this the game? I thought I had just gotten them switched around. That this is the game. You still win from here. You've got, look at how much resources you have. You have veterancy upgrade for your Yuumi. Shit, throw down 3 more Raxes back here and just spam units. You're still fine. Oh no, I have a bad feeling that you just, you panic here and you end up losing. Yabusame coming, that's a good response to what he has. You have so many resources. Just train so many Yuumi right now. Yuumi are your anti-cannon. You don't need these castles. That's a mistake. Just delete them. Push the delete key. Train Yuumi, train Yuumi. Yuumi and those couple Yabusame are all you're gonna need. Remember, behind this, you have 60 villagers. He has 19. Yeah, he's got 3 TPs, but whatever. You've got a TP too. Train Yuumi, train Yuumi. Train units. You've got so many resources. Spend them. Don't tip your hand that you've got Yabusame. Either that or run down and just kill the explosive cannon. I'm still not convinced you can lose this game. There's no way you can lose this game. He hasn't gathered a hunt for the last 10 minutes. Way of the Bow, good card. Looks like you're transitioning over to rice patties, that's fine. Still so many resources. There we go, there's the Yuumi. Train Yuumi, train Yuumi, good unit. Especially with Way of the Bow. Oh, cut out of position, but it's not going to matter because Yuumi are OP. Okay. Alright, so this, it looks like, was the game that you won. But here's what I have to say. First of all, I'm not convinced that your strategy is very good. I would prefer to see people who are learning to play the game stick to standard builds and master standard play. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Standard play is standard for a reason because it's been uh, uh, the most important thing that I'm going to say to you about this replay is twofold. One, let's look at the villager count because that was one thing that I was wondering about in the early portions of the game, and it is important to note these flat lines especially. Now he had some flat lines as well. You killed a bunch of villagers, but during all of this early scrappy fighting, you need to be continuing to build villagers because at this point you're at 20 villagers at 9 minutes and 30 seconds, which is unacceptable for Japan. That number needs to be like 33 or 34. You could be like way up here in villager count, right? Like you could be up here and then the game would just be like absolutely be over. You'd have double his villager population. That said, at the end of the game you got things in order a little bit, but this kind of breaky, like really shaky villager population is, I would say, at any level, is something that anyone should try and improve. The next thing to mention is spending your resources. You have to spend your resources. There were so many opportunities at like 12 minutes where you just had 2,000 resources that were unspent, could have been used in any number of ways, seriously, at almost any level with Japan. If you just train Ashigaros with your extra resources, it's never going to be a bad decision. Even if he's making pure crossbow or pure skirm, you can almost always justify just slamming all your resources into Ashi. So if you don't know how to spend your resources, you're on the fence about what to do, what to make Ashies until it costs you a game, is what I'm going to say. And realistically, in this game, you could have just trained anything. Yumis, Ashies, Nagis. It wouldn't have mattered. You would have just had way more stuff. You would have won by the ZutaZuta more stuff principle, honestly. You just would have had more stuff than he had. Wouldn't have mattered what it was. But you just didn't spend your resources. And even at the end of the game, when you have a 70 villager economy, like, look at how many resources you have. You have 4,000 resources to spend and plenty of population space to spend it in. So, truthfully, you just have to spend your resources. Training villagers, spending resources. If you can do those two things, it's going to improve your gameplay tenfold. That's something that everyone really needs to do and really needs to practice. And I think it manifests itself well in this game. Composition-wise, not really much to say about that. You got caught out of position. Go back and watch some of the comments that I make about your army positioning, your building placement positioning, all of those things, that I'm saying over the course of the commentary are important. But the two things that you really need to improve on are villager production at all times, especially in the first 15 minutes of the game. There's never any reason to not have a villager training unless your opponent is all in underneath your town center, actively trying to kill you. That's, I would say, the only acceptable time to not be training villagers is Japan. And two, to spend your resources. And if you're going to play Japan, you're going to have a lot of resources on hand for a very large portion of the time. And as a result of that, I would definitely advocate making sure that you just spend your resources. Every 10 seconds, just look at your resources. If you have more than 500, figure out a way to spend them. The only acceptable time to have that many resources in bank is if you're saving to age. Truth be told, I don't think you're saving to age here. I think you have too many resources because you're just not spending them, or you're not comfortable spending them. So take those pieces of wisdom, try and improve your gameplay. Feel free to submit another replay.